Smooth. Welcome to Democracy-ish. I am Danielle Moodie.
I'm Wajahat.
You just left us hanging. Usually you say I'm Wajahat Ali, and I'm like fighting for my life.
The funny thing is I think you and I are still recovering from this cold, so it's just like I was like, this is as good as it gets. It's like,
here, guys.
We're still here though. We're still here. And we were rejuvenated by the blackest Super Bowl halftime show ever in front of a white supremacist president.
Y'all, so the title of today's Democracy-ish is Black Culture versus MAGA. And I got to tell you, Waj, first of all, folks know, football, not my sport. Right? Like I'm more
any sport, not your sport.
I'm more no. Basketball is my sport.
Basketball.
I'm more in football for the snacks. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm here for the snacks. But the music. But the reality is I had such high expectations for this Super Bowl because of the symbolism that was abound, right? Like you have one team, the Chiefs, who I have said, and people can disagree with me, has become like the MAGA NFL team. They are representative of MAGA. You have Mahomes' wife, you have Mahomes himself, you have just like this. There's so much MAGA energy.
Harrison Butker, the kicker, who went out of his way to give one of the most offensive commencement speeches where he doubled down on the trad wife and the white Christian nationalism. And then people say, oh, he was finished with that. No, folks. He then parlayed that into campaigning for and teaming up with Josh Hawley, a violent insurrectionist, and also building out a PAC. And I just want to remind folks that Laura Ingraham told LeBron James, one of the greatest top 3 great basketball players of all time, to shut up and dribble. Right. But when Harrison Butker goes all in as he's playing, all good.
So for me, right, this idea, one, obviously the Super Bowl always happens during Black History Month, right? We know that Jay-Z has taken over as like creative director over the Super Bowl for the last several years, hence why the acts that we have seen have been steeped in Black culture. But to have these two teams, the Chiefs and the Eagles, both with Black quarterbacks, but very different Black quarterbacks, you have Kendrick Lamar playing halftime. You had Lettucey, Grammy Award-winning artist, singing the Black national anthem. You had Jean Baptiste, singing the national anthem. Just talk about the significance, and then we're going to actually unpack what we witnessed and why it's important in terms of the conversations that you and I have about acts of resistance, revolution, and like how we show up in this moment.
So for those who don't follow sports or those who don't follow hip hop, the reason why this is so important and what happened yesterday was important because Kendrick Lamar was very intentional with his entire 12-minute show. Kendrick Lamar is a Pulitzer Prize winner, very intelligent man, Grammy nominated. His videos, especially the past year where he has attempted to annihilate the soul of Drake, have been very deliberate. And also the entire Super Bowl halftime show, which we'll talk about, was very deliberate. And also, I'm glad you mentioned Jean Baptiste, and I think his inclusion, which probably came before the announcement that I'm about to mention, was also significant because over the weekend, Donald Trump, a man who loathes culture, a man who does not understand culture, a man who desperately wants, yearns for, um, uh, salivates for the applause and approval of Hollywood, much like the Fox News hosts, decided to fire the board of the Kennedy Center and take over. Who was on the board of the Kennedy Center? John Baptiste and many other folks. And he decided, I'm going to take it over. I'm going to be the chairman, and he's not going to make America great again. What culture, right? We know what culture. He's going to have friggin' Kid Rock and God knows what else, right? So as that happened over the weekend, where Donald Trump literally took an assault on U.S. culture to punish and mock Kennedy Center for being, I don't know, diverse, global, inviting people of color, women. You have this. And this Super Bowl halftime show, folks, was very important because Donald Trump is the first sitting president to actually attend a Super Bowl. And because he was attending, the NFL decided to remove its performative end racism slogan that it has in the end zone. Now, of course, just putting out end racism or end misogyny is silly, but nonetheless, still symbolic that the NFL has end racism or used to have end racism in the end zones. But very deliberately, folks, and intentionally, because Trump was visiting, they decided to remove end racism. And if you saw our show last week, we showed you that photo of the FBI headquarters in Quantico, where with gray paint, they rolled over diversity, leadership, constitution, and kindness. So all the folks the MAGA folks who are angry at me for a tweet I did today, it's not about racism, shut up, TDS. Yeah, if it isn't about racism, we wouldn't have a white supremacist president whose literal physical presence forced the NBA, didn't force them, I want to take that back. They caved. They bent the knee on their own. They bent the knee and removed end racism. And I also want to tell people, I'm a San Francisco 49er fan. I saw every single Colin Kaepernick game. Colin Kaepernick quietly kneeled during the anthem to protest police brutality. MAGA, Danielle, lost their mind. Forget violent insurrection is fine. You kneel during the anthem to protest Black Lives Matter, to protest police brutality. They burned his jerseys, said shut up. This man is blackballed. Harrison Butker, the kicker of Kansas City Chiefs, though, heralded. And so that's the backdrop. Danielle.
I mean, it's brilliant. Thank you. And I think so when you understand that backdrop and then you understand as Kendrick is taking the stage at halftime and he says, the revolution's about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy.
That was dope.
Right? And it was extraordinary. And what Kendrick Lamar is known for, aside from being one of the most brilliant lyricists and a Pulitzer Prize winner, his music and his videos are subversive. They are they require you to pay attention. It is a deep dive and a critique on American society, on American culture, and on the Black experience locked inside of white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism, etc. And it's why it was so incredible and extraordinary to have him there. One of my peak moments was the peak, one of the many times that I jumped off of my family's couch and screamed, was Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. And I got to play the opening.
Salutations! It's your Uncle Sam. And this is the great American game.
You have to understand the significance of Samuel L. Jackson playing Uncle Sam in front of 100 million people that are watching.
In front of Donald Trump.
And to express our American experience as the great American game. And really say, here's the funny thing. So ahead of Kendrick Lamar's performance, a letter was sent by a group of Republican Louisiana lawmakers to the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation ahead of the Super Bowl, demanding Lamar's halftime show not be, quote, lewd or offensive. The letter cited, quote, hardworking taxpayers with children who have serious concerns about the fact that the past Super Bowl halftime performances have been less than family friendly, right? So,
well, can I say something, Danielle? So I thought about that for a second. Rihanna was pregnant when she did her Super Bowl show. She wasn't naked. All she showed was her belly for a second. She just rubbed her belly. So, Rihanna, you could say, oh, was she lewd? Nope. Ice Cube, Eminem, Snoop, Dre, they weren't lewd. I remember that one. The Weeknd, he wasn't lewd. There was one other, Usher. Was Usher lewd? I don't think so.
Nope.
So one thing is they actually were not lewd. They were black. That's
right. But by virtue, again, of showing up fully in your blackness, right? Not performing, doing the tap dance for white America, but showing up as a black person in America fully inside of your blackness is in of itself deemed to be lewd and offensive and problematic. And so this was the response that Kendrick baked in to his performance.
So,
wait, nope, hold on. Not that one. Let me pull up this one. I love it so much. I mean, that part, the disconnected flag of America, the black bodies dancing, the faces covered, like this symbolism on top of symbolism on top of symbolism that represented Waj was my other jump off the couch moment. Expressly to Be Humble and DNA, because these two songs, what does Be Humble talk about, right? In the ways in which you are supposed to not be boastful, not be not own your power, not own your space. And when they talk about being humble, right? Who are they actually talking about? Black people. Don't be too loud. Don't be seen. Don't be, right? So for me, it was a absolute friggin' moment.
And if you thought, oh no, you're all reading too much into it, he was just performing. The Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam as the first image that you saw should be crystal clear that the entire 12-minute performance was a performance project and also a statement, right? That he was very aware that he commanded the halftime show of the biggest game on earth, seen by 100 million people during a time where America lost its mind and reelected a criminal, rapist, vulgarian racist who was in attendance. And then he gave you the blackest halftime show, steeped in black culture. He came out on top of a Buick, and then all black men came out from the Buick, right? Like just endless stream of black men in the red, white, and blue. And then if you saw it, it was, I don't know if we have that photo, but there are black men dressed up in the flag, interlaced with each other, and he's in the middle, right? So that was also symbolic of, it was black people, especially black men, making up the flag. So no matter how much, there you go, no matter how much they try to erase DEI or black people or people of color, I think what he was saying is, nope, here we are making up our own flag. We're holding each other together. I'm in the middle of it. You can't erase us even though you've tried. And we are part and parcel of the American experience, no matter how much you try to erase us. And then also, Kendrick has fun with it too, because once Samuel L. Jackson is like, if you thought, oh no, okay, maybe the fact that the clip you just played, I remember, I'm like, damn, when he said ghetto and leaned into it, that's like, it is as clear as day, folks, right? Too loud, too reckless, too ghetto, because we're old enough to remember when Snoop Dogg was actually counterculture, when he actually didn't sell out, remember in the early 90s and mid 90s, America lost its mind. White America lost its mind for Snoop Dogg and hip hop culture. They used to have congressional hearings. Oh, Gen Z, who is a little bit too young to remember this, before Snoop Dogg performed and tap danced for Donald Trump and was best friends with Martha Stewart. And I don't know if you saw, this one makes it even so much more beautiful. You saw the Stop Hate campaign commercial.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So it was, for those who don't know, Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady performed in the Stop Hate, Stop Anti-Semitism commercial that I think is funded by Robert Kraft, who is the owner of Patriots. All three of them are huge Trump supporters. And who do they have for the Stop Hate? Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady, who are the supporters of the biggest hate monger in recent times. And then you have Kendrick. Just the juxtaposition was,
I mean, it was gorgeous. And and this was the part, I couldn't find this clip for you all, but this was one of the other parts that Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam says, right, during Kendrick's performance with SZA, which is, that's what America wants, nice and calm. You're almost there. Don't mess this up, right? That he says, Uncle Sam says, before Kendrick goes into the diss track of all diss tracks, Not Like Us, which was absolutely exceptional. And I also need to play this.
That was the GOAT, Serena Williams, crip walking during the Super Bowl halftime show.
And again, let's talk about the layers here. So one, Not Like Us, initially a diss track to Drake, who has called out and should never open his mouth again, but has called out Kendrick Lamar, right, for not being as popular as he is, for not being as mainstream as he is. And look, I have the sales and I have the sales. And so there was a huge rap battle, right, that happens and that ensues, where Kendrick Lamar is like, I create art, right? Like I'm a Pulitzer win. Like I create art. I make people think. But if you want something that is mainstream, that is pop, here you go. And releases Not Like Us, which is talking not only about Drake, but about those that want to consume Black culture, right, without caring about the Black experience, that want to profit off of Blackness and Black culture without giving a shit about Black people, right? And so you have that part. Serena Williams, so impactful, crip walking on that stage in a tennis skirt and outfit for a reason. One, Drake and Serena Williams dated many, many moons ago, and he talked absolute trash about her and harassed her for years following that. That's number one. Number two, the other layer is that Serena Williams, when winning at Wimbledon, crip walked.
I remember
right?
that.
After her win, it was extraordinary moment. And she was torn apart for it, but did not give a fuck because her body had already been ridiculed, booed. The things that have been said about Serena Williams, her body, her skill, all of these things. So crip walking again in front of 100 million Americans saying, I am owning my Blackness, my body, myself, and I don't give a fuck what you say, was like, oh, the layers were extraordinary.
And she's from Compton, and I always remind people, despite her being the GOAT, she almost died during childbirth because they ignored her bleeding and her pain and her suffering. So many Black women, I mean, they have the highest maternal mortality rates in America, Black women, right? Because apparently Black women and Black people don't feel pain like the rest of us. You guys are superhuman. So the GOAT almost died. She's from Compton. She did the crip walk while she won. She did the crip walk again. And there was also the pettiness that Danielle talked about. I don't know if you saw this flag. So when he said A minor, Kendrick, first and foremost, is wearing a tiny A.
Yeah.
And then secondly, there were people, they didn't pick this up, but the photos picked this up. There were people running around with black flags. There's an A, and there's two kids holding up the A. Have you seen the little boy and the little girl?
No.
That was part and parcel of Kendrick's. It is so petty. So he not only took out white fear and loathing of black culture, not only did he give a middle finger to the racists who have always tried to erase black culture, he also just annihilated Drake's soul. And he literally, with a smile on his face, I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, it did.
Looking right at the camera, goes, "Hey Drake, I heard you like him young."
Yep.
So he basically called Drake a pedophile in front of 100 million people. This is one of the situations where I think the reason why we're talking about it so much is, joyful resistance is what we've talked about on the show. And that was an example of Kendrick Lamar saying things without saying it, but he said it all, right? Like, he didn't have to sit there and do a speech. He showed it through his music. He showed it through joy. He showed it through choreography. He brought along friends. There was Serena. Like, it was all there. And the entire audience, and this is what I heard from people who were inside the audience, is that the entire audience yelled A minor.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Super Bowl, I don't know who hosted. Was it Fox who did the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
They tried to minimize it, but everyone in the Super Bowl auditorium said it was like a cacophony of A minor. And A minor is also a diss because A minor is the white chord. He's calling Drake out for basically being, a coconut. But also at the same time, they're calling out what? Donald Trump, the biggest A minor of them all. And then I said this yesterday because when I did some tweets, MAGA's pissed off at me, folks, today. They wrote some articles, and I said, hit dogs holler in A minor.
150%. One of the things that also got me going was this moment. So here's Donald Trump. You all saw when the cameras, as they were, John Baptiste was singing the national anthem, they panned to Donald Trump, right, in the audience, who is not with his wife because he never is, but with his wife stand-in, his daughter. And so here's the thing. Donald Trump is shown. I'm sitting on the couch with my family, and my mom is like, "Are they cheering for him?" And I said, "No, they're not." Right? So here's a funny thing. Many broadcasters, this tweet says, many broadcasters around the world used Fox Sports video, right? The image showing Donald Trump, but they used their own audio. Because what did Fox News do? Fox, in creating this imagery and architecture around Donald Trump for the last 10 years that show this man to be mightier than he is. We talked about this, Waj, when we were talking about the Wizard of Oz effect, right? This idea of Donald Trump being more powerful, a genius, all of these things, but he's really this small man behind the curtain. And
That's right.
All that it requires us to sit in our fear is to believe the lies that are pushed out about Donald Trump. Now, we're not saying that what is happening right now is not scary and troublesome, but what we're saying is what is being showcased is a production for us to buy into. So here, for those that claim, quote, that there were people that were not booing, right? And this inside tweet says Trump got booed at the Super Bowl and Fox tried covering it up with cheers. Here's the actual footage of what happened inside of the stadium. And I want to see, do I have the actual video?
I did not see that. That's huge because, can I just say, Danielle, before you showed this to me, I mean, right before, we press record, Danielle showed me this video. I all the headlines that I saw, Danielle, was like, he was cheered And then also Taylor Swift was booed. I'm like, okay.
Nope. I just want to play it again.
That's pretty.
So when you talk about propaganda, when you talk about how Fox and mainstream corporate media have created this image and this idea that Donald Trump has this mandate, this idea that MAGA is huge, right? And they have the numbers and they have, right, the vision for America. The fact is, they fucking don't. And I will just say this, and I've said this before on the Danielle Moodie show. You know, you have Musk and his little frat incels, right? That go into the treasury and all they do is just change up a few things with coding. And some people keep saying, so if you're able to access all of our information in one swift mount of code, you're telling me that Elon Musk had nothing to do with the election? And I have said this before, that even if Elon Musk did have anything to do with the election and outcome and Democrats knew, they wouldn't have done anything anyway.
Yeah.
For the preservation of the institution and for us to believe, right, that somehow all things were intact. But what I will say is that if Donald Trump was as popular as they want us to believe, and that he says, and everybody in America is now kissing his ring, then when you show him at the biggest sporting event, you would not have had to manufacture applause, right? And thank God for those people that were in the audience whose posts are going out on social media. But I encourage everyone to share it 1,000,000 times over, this clip, right? Because this is the reality. And Fox, once again, absolutely promoted the propaganda. If Donald Trump was as popular and as beloved as MAGA is trying to make him be, then they wouldn't have to lie and they wouldn't have to cheat.
And what we're seeing also is a CBS poll over the weekend where like 53% of Americans have approved. And this is what happens in authoritarian regimes: is the corporate establishment that bends the knee, right? Tells the emperor, oh, you're wearing fine silk, even as he's corpulent and rotting and naked. And I want to remind people, based on what Danielle said, is about a decade ago. Remember Sean Spicer, the first White House press secretary, his only goal in that first press conference was to lie to us and gaslight the world about the what? Inauguration crowd that we saw with our own eyes, Danielle, was not as large as Obama's. So for Donald, it's all about looks. How does it look? The ratings, you know, what do people see? It's not about the substance. And this is why, there you go. Oh, I love it. Matt Gaetz. As far as the black halftime show went, you know, I was sitting there, Danielle, and I'm like, white MAGA doesn't like this. But then I got proof. Charlie Kirk was pissed off. Matt Gaetz was pissed off. And Matt Gaetz didn't realize that this halftime show was booked months in advance before we found out the election results, number one. And number two, the regime right now is who, Danielle? Last time I checked, who's president? I wonder.
Kristi Noem also didn't realize that when she was on the Sunday talk shows, and Dana Bash,
right?
When she's saying on CNN, "Oh, you can't trust the government,"
right? You are the government,
and Dana Bash is just like, boop boop, back up, because you are the government. So here you have Matt Gaetz tweeting, the halftime show you watched is clearly the regime's response to Trump's historic gains with black men. Hey, boo-boo, the regime is you, right? And this isn't a response to anything other than a critique overall on America and on America's treatment of black people, the black experience, black excellence, black culture, right? And all one of my favorite memes: if only white people loved black people as much as they love black culture, right? Like, that is one of my favorite posts. But, that's the thing. But this is, right, leads us into, because this is what they want. This
right.
is what Fox has offered up in terms of lying to millions of people across this country about our actual legitimate feelings about this president, which he can't possibly take any real critique, any real analysis. And here is what is happening to our intelligence agencies, where I'm pretty sure it's illegal to ask people not only their political affiliations, but ask them, are you pregnant, or do you plan on being pregnant? A whole host of things before you hire them. But here, Donald Trump is now doing loyalty tests. And Fox passed with flying colors last night with their lies spread about the booze. And this is what's happening inside of our agencies.
Well, it's even worse, because I don't know if you all can read the not just, I know you could all see the title, but look at that line. Candidates for top intelligence and law enforcement jobs were asked to give a quote yes or no responses to questions such as, was January 6th an inside job? So it's not just loyalty to Donald Trump, which, by the way, folks, you want your law enforcement to be loyal to what? The Constitution, to law and order, right? To the institution itself, assuming the institution, is not corrupt. They're asking, in addition to be loyal to Donald Trump, which is what happens in dictatorships, they want them to be loyal to conspiracy theories such as the big lie and the whole deep state conspiracy, right? So not only do you have to bend the knee to Donald Trump, you have to bend the knee to his diluted, upside down version of reality, in which allegedly there's a conspiracy that was against him. No, there wasn't. He incited a violent insurrection because he wanted to stay in power. He was afraid that he would go to jail. He only ran again to avoid jail. And by the way, because of his spreading of the big lie, folks, the big lie being that he won the election that he lost hugely in 2020, about 80% of Republican voters now, Danielle, believe the big lie. And they want to remake all of our institutions like MAGA, in the upside down. It is some scary, scary-ish. And what's happening right now with Musk, folks, the word is purge and coup. So they want to do an administrative coup, and they want to do a coup of law enforcement. And they've pretty much kind of done mostly a media coup. I don't know. There was some resistance over the weekend, Danielle, which is why, going back full circle, while there's this blitzkrieg, you need to throw as much sand in the gears as possible. You need everyone to do their role. You have lawyers coming out with lawsuits. You have protests. You have culture. You have people like us. You have people in the streets. You have people in the local community. You have people in you folks in your homes, right? In your churches, in your mosques. And you have Kendrick Lamar stepping out in front of the world stage as they're trying to erase DEI, which again is what? Diversity, equity, inclusion, women, Black people, people of color. And he says, nope.
I want to add something to all of the brilliant points that you just made as well, which is I want to lift up again the question of whether or not January 6th was a quote unquote inside job. Run with me for a moment, dear friends.
Are you going to use logic, Danielle?
Yes, that's why I said run with me for a moment, right? If in fact January 6th was an inside job, which would mean that it was orchestrated by who was currently in power at that time, which was Donald Trump, right? Because you have to understand that Donald Trump was president of the United States on January 6th. It wasn't until Joe Biden is sworn in that he becomes president. So if it was an inside job, wouldn't that mean that it was you who was behind January 6th, right? Like, which in fact you were. So
but extend the logic, Danielle, because who was president In 2024, it was Joe Biden and George Soros, right? According to them. So if they were in control of everything, why would Soros and Biden go out of their way to give Trump the victory and then accept it?
Oh, but I'll accept that and raise you one more, that if in fact you thought it was a quote unquote inside job, meaning that it was led and directed by Democrats and the deep state, why would you have pardoned those people? Why would you have pardoned them? If they were part of quote unquote Antifa, right? And not your actual fucking base that you directed to go storm the Capitol on your behalf, why would you have pardoned the quote unquote enemies from within? Make it make sense, Waj.
So this is the thing.
Sense.
I was going to write an article last week called America Last, and my first line was going to be, I just want cults to be consistent. And that's what bothers me about MAGA, because most cults are pretty consistent. You know, they have their bylines, they have their foundation, they have their texts, they have their theories, right? They have their conspiracies. What bothers me is MAGA is not consistent, right? Trump is not consistent because you're America first, Danielle, right? You're about exceptionalism and isolationism. Right. But then Donald Trump says, I want to take over Gaza. You're like, excuse me? Then Donald Trump says, I want to make Canada the 51st state. You're like, excuse me? Then he goes out of his way to do a trade war with Mexico and Canada and piss off South Africa and also piss off Panama. So make it make sense, Danielle. How can you be America first and you want to vote for Donald Trump because he's not going to spend money and troops and send troops abroad, but then in the first 2 weeks of his presidency, he says, I'm going to take over Gaza and we're going to clear out bombs and we're going to build the Riviera of the Middle East. Can you make sense of it? I'm a simple man.
I struggle because the fuckery is so real. But the reality is that when Americans have been asked now, we are headed into our first full month of fuckery under this new regime. CBS poll, 2/3 of Americans, including 50% of ours, say Trump is not focused enough on lowering prices. A majority, 51%, including 20% of ours, say that Trump's policies will make the price of food and groceries go up. So here is the graph. Trump's focus on lowering prices is 66%, not enough. 31%, which is the percentage of the Trump cult, right amount, total right amount he's focused on. And then 3% is too much. More than half of people are saying, what exactly has Donald Trump done over the past 3 weeks that would have me believe that the prices of anything are going to go down? Not a goddamn thing. Trade wars, right, are about creating a national sales tax. That's what it is going to do. That's what it is doing.
Tariffs are taxes. Tariffs are taxes and are inherently inflationary. And speaking about logic, remind me, Danielle, I'm a simple man. Wasn't the mainstream framing and the MAGA framing that this election was about the price of eggs and the price of groceries? And that's why so many forgotten people voted for Donald Trump, right? Not to do with racism and misogyny and misinformation, but the price of my eggs. And lo and behold, that graph, and also, I think it was last week when Sean Spicer interviewed Donald Trump, tried 5 times to get him back on track to talk about the price of groceries. What did Donald Trump say? I don't care.
I don't care. And so let's just also, folks, American exceptionalism that was the first big lie, right? Like, let us understand, Donald Trump's been riding a lie for the last 10 years plus, if you start with birtherism and Obama. He's been riding high on that for a decade. But when you look at America and America's standing, and the New York Times put together an actual graphs The U.S. has stomped other major countries on a macro economic growth over the past 30 years while regressing on virtually all other indicators of well-being that other industrialized nations have made super advancements on. So I just want to blow this up for a moment. Oh, sorry. Child death rate, Waj.
Wow.
Okay? The murder rate.
Yep.
Suicide rate.
That's the huge one, especially for white men.
Drug death rate. Like, it is astonishing that America can say that it is exceptional or number one in anything other than, as somebody tweeted the other day, number one in what? Christy Nome says, America first. And the response was, America first in what? COVID deaths?
America last.
America first in what? Health, in healthcare premiums, right? Like, American first where? Not in education, not in industrialization, right? Not in combating climate change, not in investing in people. And so these charts, this is what Americans voted for to go even further off of a cliff, right? Waj posted the other day and said, like, we are have literally fallen behind all of our allies in every point of well-being that actually matters.
You know, there's this one graph there. There's several graphs, but folks, there's another graph there of life expectancy. And the United States of America, which is the most powerful, wealthy country on earth, we have lost 3 years. So we have gone down on life expectancy from the average around 67, 77 years to now 73. We're dying younger. The new generation is dying younger. There's an increase in suicides, especially of men, of white men. Income inequality has increased. Worker productivity has actually increased. People are working harder. They're working longer. As far as workers are concerned, we leave more vacation days on the table than even our Japanese and European counterparts. All that money has flowed up. None of it has trickled down. People like Bezos and Musk are making the most ungodly sums of money that any human being has ever seen. And now, because America would rather destroy itself than have a black Indian woman as president, you have Musk and his racist incels in Doge, who are literally going to take your Medicaid as you're dying, Meals on Wheels, Head Start, literally going to purge the government. That means thousands of jobs will be lost if they continue with their purge of USAID. I just want to let's use the logical consequences. Today's a logic show. Suppose they're successful with USAID and its purge. This is what happens. 10,000 jobs are lost. Those are 10,000 people who rely upon that income. Those 10,000 people now have no money. They are people who pay rent or the mortgage. They're people who help buy groceries. They're people who use that monthly income to spend in their local community. That's now gone. Now you see people, most likely some of them will be depressed. Some of them will, God forbid, kill themselves. Some of them will probably become alcoholics. Some of them, God forbid, we have a lot of guns in this country, Danielle, okay? In addition to those 10,000 people, suppose you don't care about them. Well, USAID bought $2 billion worth of commodities from U.S. farmers. U.S. farmers were already struggling. The person who screwed U.S. farmers was, wait for it, Donald Trump, who bailed out U.S. farmers, you and me and Joe Biden. So those farmers now are going to lose, $2 billion of revenue. And finally, the birds, the eggs, the egg prices now. I was in Oklahoma for a speech yesterday. They told me it costs $9 for a dozen. That's going to get worse because bird flu has now caused a human death has now been transmitted to other animals, they now have to cull herds of birds. And by the way, RFK is going to be our new HHS, director of HHS, and he's against vaccines. So what do you think is going to happen in 6 months as bird flu spreads and we have an anti-vaxxer as the head of our HHS? Did I use my logic correctly, Danielle?
I mean, the dots are so well connected. Like, I don't understand how one couldn't follow. But if you are this man, you don't actually ever care about anything. So this is Donald Trump talking about annexing Canada as the 51st state because we're quote unquote losing hundreds of billions of dollars to Canada. And please, somebody tell me why the fuck Canada, which has free healthcare, better public education, better infrastructure, has strict laws around gun violence, would ever allow themselves to become the 51st state of these United States of violence. Somebody help me understand how this is going to work, because here's the thing. Unless you are planning to go to full-on war with one of our allies, right? Like, unless you are planning to invade Canada, there is an absolutely no world where the Canadian people, autonomous people, will say, yes, we want to be forever linked to this hellhole where your life expectancy is rolling backwards, right? You are trending backwards in every instance, and it's going to get worse, and we want to join you.
Well, going back to logic, I was told by the MAGA cult that they are America first. So Danielle, just using simple logic, and I'm a simple man, I went to public school. Can you explain to me how aggressively taking over Canada, and by the way, Canada's huge, just look up north, and making it our 51st state, as they're repeatedly saying we're an independent sovereign nation, is America first, because America first was not just about improving America, it was also about American isolationism and getting away from other countries and letting other countries mind their own business. Can you please logically explain to me how starting a trade war and forcing Canada to bend the knee and become our 51st state is America first? What am I missing?
Oh, well, you're missing the desire of the technocrats and the oligarchs that are actually running this country and their plan for manifest destiny, because they need the resources, the mineral rich places like Canada and Greenland, and the transportation access of a Panama, in order to continue enriching themselves while they extract from these other countries the minerals that they are needed to do what? Continue with their artificial intelligence race, right? That's
Transhumanism,
that's the
technocracy.
goal here. It is technocracy, and it is to turn these minerally rich places into 21st century colonies of the United States of America, in order to be able to do what? Pay for Donald Trump's $500 billion investment in AI, which is going directly into the pockets of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. I can continue and go on, but I feel as if Waj and I have connected every dot that managed.
Well, can we also just do an update? That $500 billion, what a waste, because what did we find out a week and a half ago in China for $6 million? DeepSeek did all that work. Whoopsie. Here we are, folks. Listen, this is what we're dealing with. It is a cult in service to a vain, fickle man who cares about nothing but himself and his grievances. I believe, Danielle, the honeymoon period. I remember I said
You said 6 months.
6 months. I'm gonna.
You meant 6 weeks.
I'm gonna. You know what? Let's see what happens. If I'm wrong, egg on my face. I was wrong about the 2016 election. I was wrong about the 2024 election. I was right about a lot of stuff compared to a lot of our peers. My batting average is very good. I'm gonna update that timeline. I think this honeymoon's gonna end by April. Danielle.
I'm going to go with you and say that if you are being booed, right, at the Super Bowl, your honeymoon is over. And what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are going to continue to do is to wage a culture war as a form of distraction from the things that they are not doing for the American people and the grift that they are undertaking. You have to understand what Toni Morrison said, that racism is a distraction. It has you explaining yourself and your worth to people who choose, right, to not understand you. And so we have to, in this moment, I continue to say, while MAGA is busy pointing fingers, as the former vice president of the United States said, we need to link arms, right? Because they are doing the good work of trying to distract us and to divide us so that they can what? Conquer us. That is the absolute goal here, folks. And if we continue to get caught up in their bullshit, right, and not keep our eye on what is important, which is organizing a resistance that goes across industries, communities, right, we won't win. Because they do have all of the levers of power right now. But if you understand that we still have the people, right? We still have the culture. And that's why I say, and I'll go back, that Kendrick Lamar's performance was what was said here. Kendrick literally protested and taunted America in front of the president during America's biggest sports event. It was gorgeous. And when we talk here about what does your resistance look like, it can look like a number of things, but resisting nonetheless is the goal right now.
And what was your wait, hold on. I think wait, didn't you have that Danielle tweet? Here you go.
Oh, this is what I posted last night. I feel like MAGA was defeated tonight, and I don't even love football. The eagle flew high and free, and K-Dot didn't let Uncle Sam tell him what he could do. Pay attention, America.
That's it. Keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the prize. And you move the ball yard by yard, even if it's a foot, 2 yards, 3 yards, little by little. It's going to be a long walk. And so what we saw yesterday was Kendrick and Black culture kept their eye on the ball. They kept their eye on the long game. They kept their eye on the prize. They were looking at the end zone. In order to get there, sometimes you can't do a Hail Mary pass. Sometimes it takes 1 yard here, 2 yards there, 3 yards there. But all of it is not just resistance, Danielle. It's also forward progress. It's growth. You chip, you chisel, you wear them down. Authoritarians and tyrants, what do they say? Tyranny requires constant effort. And as such, it is you cannot maintain it forever. It leaks, right? There are tears, right? Because it's so unnatural. And so it's up to the rest of us to just, open up those tears, create those leaks so it creates a flood, right? Just deflate them, exhaust them, throw sand in their gears for once and maneuver around them. Go up, go down, swivel, juke, do a hurdle, do it. I'm just using football analogies now. I'm in the zone. So do what you got to do, right? And that's why it's so important at a local level, at a national level, at an international level, whether it's your social media, whether it's you speaking out at the barbecue, just show up. Because you just showing up with a smile on your face, I'm telling you, it pisses them off. And not only does it piss them off, they get scared. If a bully tries to punch you in the face, and suppose he punches you in the face. If you've ever been bullied, I was bullied. I was a fat kid. But then you respond with a smile, even as you're bleeding. That bully, all of a sudden, He has a look in his eyes, fear. Why won't they bend the knee? Why won't they go down? I just punched this man. I gave him nothing but vitriol and hate, and he's smiling with blood in his mouth? Oh, shit. And so last night was an oh, shit moment.
And just to put a cherry on top of Wajahat's Analogy Sunday, let's just take a moment before we close out today to listen to this.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the road sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory. Let us march on till victory. Oh, let us march on till victory is won. Is won.
My God, okay? To have a smile on your face, to stand in your power and the beauty of Blackness that is always about having victory march on. It was from beginning to end, right? A story of resistance.
Lift every voice and sing. Very, very deliberate, very intentional. Eyes on the ball, eyes on the prize.
That is it for us, dear friends, on Democracy-ish today. A few notes before we get out of here. There will be no Danielle Moodie show this evening. I have to travel, but I am back. The show is back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And Democracy-ish, as always, twice a week. We are back on Friday, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Waj,
and also, we have to say this. We usually say this in the beginning, at the end, and we're like just children of immigrants. We're so bad at this. Please like, please subscribe. Apparently, the YouTube algorithm, this is how the elves work. So this video that you're watching right now, please like it. Please subscribe to Danielle's platform. Also, a super chatter. You know, the people who've given money, thank you so much. If you want to give us a tip, it goes a long way. If you look right under YouTube, there is an oval with 3 dots on it. You click it, and then you see a $ and a heart. That's how you give tips and donations. And this is independent media. We started grassroots. We've been doing Democracy-ish for 2 years. In the last couple of months, we decided to do the show. In the new year, we've done 2 shows. And I think we're getting more and more people that right now we're on live on YouTube and on X. And there were like 2,300 people. This is the most we've gotten since we've gone live. So it keeps increasing. Thank you so much. It goes a long way. And real quick, Danielle, how many people do you have on subscribers?
Subscribers right now. We are at 13.1 thousand. Let's get to 15,000, friends. Let's get to 15,000. So again, like, comment, subscribe, share this. As soon as we go off, share it on all of your platforms with your community. Particularly, look for that clip of Donald Trump being booed, right? You can clip it here in this video. Once it goes live, you can isolate it, clip it, and share it because
Welcome, Michelle.
people need to see the truth. Oh, yes. Hey, first show. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening to and watching Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
I'm Wajahat Lee.
And we will be back next week. Well, not next week, on Friday. If, in fact, we have a country left. Inshallah.